So we are making the knot bag here, and the first thing we're going to do is of your outer piece of your knot bag, your two outer pieces, right sides together, and we're going to sew a centimetre seam allowance along here, the short edge of this is the short edge of the strap from edge to edge, and then the same with your lining pieces, right sides together, just along that short edge. So that's your first step. So once they're sewn, you need to just press out the seams on both pieces there. And we are then going to lay the outer part right side up. And we are going to match on top of that the lining piece and match together and pin the seam together. So it's right sides together. So you're going to pin that together. And you can pin around the curve here, pin around the curve this side as well. And then where you've done the snips or put the marking of where to sew to, you can just pin along here as well, round this curve, as I said, in each handle, and then also this long part of the handle up to where the snip is as well. And then I'll just show you where we're going to sew. So I've just pinned where we need to sew. So from each notch here that we've marked, you're going to be sewing a centimetre seam allowance between here and here on the outside shorter edge, and then around this curve here in the middle, you're going to start 2 centimetres down from that short edge of the long handle all the way around this curve and stop 2 centimetres before the end. So that's 1, 2, and then you're going to sew again 2 centimetres down from the short edge of the long handle to the notch, and then 2 centimetres down from the other long handle short edge to the other notch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 lines. And then once you've done that, you can cut some notches to take sort of the bulk out of that curve. So once you've sewn those sections, we are going to pull and turn it in the right way round. So you can pull it all through this gap here. So it feels a bit fiddly, but you'll manage to do it after a little bit of playing around with it. So I'm pulling it through that tunnel, and then I'll end up pulling this other bit through as well. And that's that one pulled the right way. So, and then it's just turning this other long handle through. So you can see that it's all turned out the right way. So I'll put that other one out. So you're going to iron that, and then what we're going to do is pull right sides together of the outer and right sides together of the lining. So I've pulled it all through now. I know that it is a little bit fiddly, but you're basically just pulling one side through the right way through this tunnel, and then it's just turning these long handles the right way out, and then eventually it does end up the right way around. So now the last step is we're going to put together right sides of the outer part of the bag and just match up there at the side seams where those notches were. So you can pin that all the way round, and I do it one bit at a time because you can sort of just push your handles out of your way while you sew all the way around this curve. So we'll do that bit first. So I've pinned that all the way around now, and I'm going to sew a centimetre seam allowance all around that curve. So I've sewn around that edge on the machine. I can now just tuck those handles back in that way to keep them out of the way so I don't sew over them. And I'm going to just do exactly the same with the lining here. So again, match up the raw edges and sew around, but just leave a gap in the bottom. I'd say approximately 8 centimeters, so you can just put a little mark, so you just remember to leave that gap there, and that's where we're going to then just pull it all through. So I've sewn around the lining as well and left that gap in the middle. It can feel a bit fiddly to butt right up to where that seam is on either one, but just sort of take your time with it. And then we're just going to pull the whole thing now through the gap in the bottom. And you can sort of stuff the lining in to the bottom. And actually, before you do that, you can just press that raw edge and machine sew that gap closed now. And then it's pretty much done, apart from joining this top of the handle here. So what we do to start with is, because we left that 2 centimeter seam allowance there, what we can do is sort of fold the lining piece out of the way and just machine over the outer short bit of the handle, and then all you have to do is slip stitch the short edge of the lining. So I've put right sides together there and managed to just go through the outer piece, so that's nice and neat. So then on the inside, you've obviously got this raw edge. So if you fold one piece of your lining upwards, fold over the other raw edge and just turn under that raw edge, what you can do then is just slip stitch, hand slip stitch that closed, or if you wanted to, you could machine and top stitch that handle down. It's up to you, but that would be the only bit of hand stitching if you want to make it invisible and do a hand slip stitch. Just make sure all those raw edges are sort of tucked into the seam, and then once that's done, you've got your finished knot bag.